liberty, and justice for all.
Are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
Tonight's agenda has a closed session on it, but there is no closed session as of right now.
All right, so the first thing we would like to do tonight is invite Jeff Modak and Jeff Berry up to celebrate our successes. Grace McWayne's Goal for Growth Project.
Good evening and thank you for inviting us here to share our celebration at Grace McWayne.
You want to capture every word?
Yes. A little intimidating. What we just experienced yesterday was our Grow for the Goal project, and it was the visible, tangible, getting students excited part of goal setting at Grace McWayne. So we'll see some slides a little bit later that talk about it. But I wanted to make sure that all the viewers tonight are not thinking that this was a one and done deal. So we'll also be talking about how when we do goal setting at Grace McWayne, we're trying to make it a habit. So that is the next slide. So we emphasize with our staff and our community that we're not just goal setting for goal setting's sake, and we're not just planting flowers like you'll see, but we are actually trying to make this a lifelong habit for students, is to set goals and take action to achieve them. For this particular project, though, the one-day event, Grow for the Goal project, we put some templates in place for students to look at an annual goal, and they went ahead with teachers and filled out either this form or a form that the teachers created, and came up with an annual goal, something they were going to try to achieve by the end of the year. And the way we're marking the end of the year is by planting tulip bulbs around the front of the school. And the tangible piece is they need to achieve their goal before the tulips come up. So before we beautify Grace McWayne with those tulips, they're going to try to achieve their goals. We started the day with an assembly by Dwayne M. Abel, who is a self-proclaimed small potatoes cartoonist who does the comic strip Zed, but he uses his comic strip characters to talk about 4 main areas of action that helps you achieve your goals in life, and that is work, study, learn, and try. So we thought those were nice terms that students can be friendly with and understand on how to achieve their goals while working at Grace McWayne. And so that launched the day for us, and then we headed outside. And we partnered with the Vrooman planting supplies. And it is a company that supplies all kinds of planting supplies, of course, to the Northern Illinois area. And this guy just totally got a kick out of this. He was actually a former educator. What are the chances I call this place? He's a former educator, and he's like, I'm going to send you these giant tulips, and we're going to do it. So it was a great partnership that I appreciated, and it made everything work very well that day. But so we had 2 parent volunteers that really headed the project beforehand, getting the beds ready and during the day. And then every student who attended at Grace McWayne on Monday planted at least 1 flower bulb. Some teachers got excited and brought out more bulbs and did some more goal setting with that. So the beds are all installed with over 400 flower bulbs. We hope that the deer and the chipmunks stay away, and that we have 400 flowers pop up in the spring. The good thing is that we didn't mark where all the students planted the bulbs, so if they see something in the vicinity, they're going to think it's theirs and get excited about it. But you can see some of the pictures there. It was a good day. I actually had a chance to follow up with students both before, during, and after the assembly and the project, and heard lots of positives. They were talking about how, I can't wait till it comes up, and that day there was a little downtime while we were waiting for planning and asking about their goals. It was exciting to hear that each of them had talked about goal setting. Each of them knew at least one goal that they were going to try to achieve that year, and even talked about some of the things they were going to try differently to achieve their goal. So the verbiage was there, the background was there, the habit forming was there. So as an SLT, we've been talking about goal setting for as long as I've been at Grace McQuain, and we've narrowed it down to 3 things that we think will make goal setting effective for our students. First, that students will monitor and act on their own goals weekly, that teachers will monitor student goals once a month, and that there needs to be a parent-home and school connection. Parents are a huge piece of this, especially at the elementary age, because they have to help some of that action take place at home. So some of the things that we typically have done at Grace McQuain are going well. Things are going very well for us. This is an example actually from Mr. Clary's classroom. They had set sight word goals of how many they are to achieve, and Mr. Clary can speak a little bit more to this. So there's the monitoring piece and the action there. You can see the young lady cutting out her sight words, taking action, getting ready to study to achieve that next level of sight words. Did I explain that right?
You did.
All right. But here's what's missing. We're missing the ease of teachers accessing this data on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and we're having trouble getting this information home to parents. So here's the solution. There's an app for that. We have been so fortunate in Batavia to get the one-to-one devices. We're trying to be innovative and think about how we can use that for what we're already doing. And goal setting was a thing that we couldn't get home. Teachers couldn't access as well as we'd like to. So we are looking into Seesaw. And the reason Mr. Clary, or I keep on calling Mr. Clary because I'm used to speaking in front of kids. The reason Chad is here with us tonight is because he did some piloting with this last year, and he recently prepared a small presentation for our SLT, and we're looking into, so this is not a commitment, but this is what we're looking into, because this application actually provides the vehicle necessary for do all the things we want to do for goal setting, and it has so many other facets, but we are focusing on the goal setting part of it. So there is a small video that introduces you to Seesaw in case you've never seen the application before. And then Mr. Clary, Chad, is going to share more about what he's been doing in his classroom.
Seesaw is a learning journal that empowers students to showcase what they're learning at school. Students each get their own journal and can easily add items just by taking a picture. You can also add video, drawings, or anything from the camera roll. Seesaw's camera detects if it's being held steady before taking a picture. And 2 taps is all it takes to add a voice explanation, drawing, or text. Next, students pick their name from the class list and add the item to their journal. It's that easy. Students as young as 5 are using Seesaw with minimal teacher supervision. Teachers can browse items from the whole class or review a single student's work. Seesaw helps keep everything organized and in one place. Seesaw journals are accessible from anywhere, on iPads, iPhones, and on the web, making them great to refer back to for parent-teacher conferences, assessments, or student self-reflection. When teachers approve new items, parents are automatically notified, giving parents a personalized glimpse into their child's day and a conversation starter for later. Parents can view only their child's journal, and student journals are kept completely private. Setting up your class takes just 30 seconds. Download Seesaw in the App Store and get started.
We would have never fallen into this had we not had Dr. Newkirk making it possible for us to have iPads in our classroom last year in first grade. So throughout our whole first grade, a year ago, we were sharing, we had 10 iPads per classroom in order to use it that came from the high school. We found out about the app, and they were still in the beta phase of using it. And so we were one of their pilot classes, or grade levels, if you will, that sent feedback from our students and teachers back to the company so that they could start to continue to refine it and finish it off so that they could make it perfect when they sent it to the public. The version that we saw in the video actually has 4 tools that you can use, but now it's up to 6, and they're adding a 7th one afterward. Mr. Gaspar, I'm not sure if when you came in and you were working in our classroom, if the students were using Seesaw that day or not. I know you were very busy.
They were saving us something, but I had no clue.
Okay. But the beauty of the app, I think the video kind of described the power of it in that students as young as 5 in kindergarten or 6 in first grade have the ability to take their tablet or an iPad. It is on all of the tablets in the classroom now. So the one-to-one, it makes it a lot easier than having to share the 10 iPads. But the students are able to create, they're able to make choices in how they create, they're able to document what they've created. The best part that I love about it is that they get to self-reflect in an audio recording. So if they're talking about their goal setting, as Mr. Modaf had mentioned, they can mention how they got to that point, or if they're talking about, if they have a writing goal, they can talk about what goal they did a really good job with, but what their next step might be. There's an ability for the teacher to be able to have the students create folders. So I have a writing folder, I have a math folder, a sciences folder, and a reading folder so that they can attach different things into it. We use the app for almost everything throughout the day, as often as we can. Seesaw in our classroom is a verb, as well as it is in the other classrooms that are using it right now. They'll ask, can I seesaw this? Well, of course you can, because they want to be able to express what it was that they were excited about learning. They'll submit it to that folder, and then not only do I get to see what their thinking was, but as soon as I approve it, then it goes straight to their family so that they can get it either on their phone, their computer, or however they choose to log into the classroom for it. As far as the goal setting goes, which I know we're trying to tie back to that, being able to have students chart their growth over the course of the school year, to have these portfolios, because it's a digital portfolio is basically what this is it allows students to go to particular folders, or a teacher to bring up their folder and be able to see the progress in just one subject area of growth. So as far as the beginning stages of what it looks like in our building, in first grade, all of our classes are using it. In other grade levels, they're beginning to get their feet wet with it. In fourth grade, I know that they're using it, and I've been in and I've seen that they are attaching Google Docs that they create with their students, and more than one student can work on a Google Doc at one time, and then they can put that address into their own individual file so that they would have that. I've seen rubrics completed or filled out on an evaluation of a project that a fourth grader has done, and then that's uploaded into Seesaw, 1, so that the teacher can have it if they're having a meeting to talk about it, and 2, so that the students and family can see it and talk about it right there in real time at home. It's an amazing app. The greatest gift that we have right now is being able to have that one-to-one technology, which we're most appreciative of, so that not just the ease of a tablet, but also with the Chromebooks as well, that those students are able to use it. There are a few things that we're working on, trying to figure out how we can make it work better, particularly with taking pictures and things like that for the older students with the Chromebooks. But it does work with the Chromebook, and they're able to add and edit to it as well. So I don't know what else you want to throw in.
So we said something we're not committed to. There could be another app that comes along that blows this away, but we're certainly trying to use it to our advantage. And I apologize that we totally ran over on our presentation time, but I was saying to someone earlier, when you give me a chance to brag about some of the things we get to do at school, it's hard to fit it into a small package, but we hope you got a chance to look at what we're doing for goal setting at Grace McLean.
Thank you. Cool. Thank you.
Very cool.
Nice job. Good job.
Next, we'll be moving on to public comment. If anyone wishes to address the board, it's all fun.
It's Dan. It's Dan and Joanne.
Come on up. Hey, Joanne. I'm just straight down. You're so friendly. I know. Okay. Every time.
Hello, we are so happy to be here tonight, and we are here tonight to express our thanks from the Hall of Honor Committee for the support that we've received from the Board of Education for the past 2 years during the formation of the Batavia Public Schools Hall of Honor. We're very pleased with the Hall of Honor activities that took place during homecoming week, and we're happy to report that about 200 people attended the Hall of Honor inaugural event at the Batavia Fine Arts Center. We would especially like to extend our thanks to the school board for your support and the help you extended to the committee during the festivities. John Gasper, Kathy Dremel, Sue Locke, Tina Bleakley, to Dr. Hitchens and Joanne Smith, to Pat Brown and his staff for the repurposing of the display cases in Main Hall, completely creating a permanent Hall of Honor display, to Kathy Scafidi and Sue Gillerlane for everything that they helped us do throughout the summer months, to Hanson Furnace Foundation for financially supporting the wall construction, to Julie and Kevin Burtness for managing the inaugural event social, decorations, and refreshments, and a special shout out to BATV's Jim Dillenberg, Jen Brenz, and BATV's intern Brittany Johnson, and to the Batavia Park District for the use of the trolley during the homecoming parade, and Eric Locker for being the trolley driver extraordinaire that he was. And of course, we can't not mention Dominic Cotero and everything that he provided for us at DFAC. It was just really a successful time for us. And we'd like to recognize the Hall of Honor Committee who together made this all possible. Greg Hodge, former school board member, who has served on the committee for 2 years, and now Sue Locke, who's going to be replacing Greg as the school board representative. Dan Russo, BEA representative, and Julie Johnson, who's replacing Daniel on our committee. Our at-large members, Carla Hill, John Heath, Buzz Miller, Amy Nelson, and Joe Capura. Music Buffs representative, Bob Batty Barr. Bulldog Booster representative, Lisa Farley. Studio representative, Sharon Sitka. Stage representative, Sue Gillerlane. And we'd like to invite everyone in the community to submit nominations for the 2016 Hall of Honor candidates. Nominations can be submitted online now, and through the website or through the website, the BPS website link. And they also can be submitted through the superintendent's office. And the deadline is February 1st, 2016. So get those nominations in because our committee's ready to get back to work. So, and Joanne?
Well, and I want to say what a great, fabulous job that Nan did as chair. I would be on any committee and do anything if Nan was in charge.
Good, she has another one for you.
She was spectacular. So, and I'm just, I don't think we used about 3 minutes yet. So as part of the BP and ship-in, I don't think I ever said thank you about the van. In January, we found out the Batavia Apartments wanted a van, and in eight weeks, our community collected $27,580. It took the apartments longer to pick out lettering and get insurance for the van than it did for us to collect $27,580 from churches, the foundation, chip-in, my cousin's foundation, churches in St. Charles and Geneva. And Steve helped get all the administrators together, and you guys individually, out of your own pockets, collected $2,000. Wow. That's extraordinary. Not one penny came from the public. So it's extraordinary. And we have a 12-passenger van from Gerald Auto, and thank you very much.
Thank you for all you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Pierce.
Thanks, Amy. Next, we'll be moving on to our BTS partners. First, I'd like to invite Tim Buckers up to the table to update us on Belfast.
Hi. I've only got a few things, but we have a new secretary now. Joan Cram was appointed this afternoon, actually, to replace Robin Kipley. So, and also, we have a representative for Tony's new committee, the Resource Responsibility Advisory Committee, RRAC. Sue Carpenter will be on that committee. And a bunch of our members took part in a fundraiser on Saturday for Mr. Harold Hogue, who, as we know, has cancer. But I heard that they raised over $12,000, and it was a huge success. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
And now Amy Jenkins, President of the BEA.
Hello. Hi. I also want to thank Beefy and Chip In for all the wonderful things you do for teachers and for the community, because it is a really wonderful testament to the people in Batavia, and they do such great work, so it's great. I have a couple of updates. Some are political, some are school related. One is that local presidents next week are meeting with some legislators to talk about Rauner's continual holding hostage our budget, and we are going to talk to them about some of the issues that go along with that and encourage them to try to get the budget passed. Also, IEA has offered there's a documentary called Paper Tigers, which is about ACEs, which are the adverse childhood experiences that can affect students and their learning in a really negative way. So they have been doing a lot of work with ACEs and with envisioning how we do discipline in schools and how we treat kids who have adverse childhood experiences and really deal with those before we can deal with the academic issues that they often have, because it really does put kids in a fight or flight state of mind almost all the time. So they have released this documentary that comes from Seattle, and I've talked to Lisa Palese about possibly showing it in the BFAC to educators in our whole region. So it would be educators, board members, administrators, and it's really cool because they offer the movie and also a panel of experts and a discussion afterwards, because Audrey Soglin, who works for the IEA board, she and her brother David Soglin is a pediatrician, and they did a lot of work with ACEs in Chicago. And anyway, so that's an opportunity we're talking about. And it really goes along well with our SEL goals and also the new discipline law, where we have to change our discipline policy. So it should go nicely, and I'm excited about that. Also, speaking of IEA things, we had a really nice Institute Day on Monday where we focused on SLOs, and we had it divided into groups where teachers went where they were in the process. So we had a lot of CEC help, and it was wonderful. All the feedback that I've gotten has been real positive about that. And also the IEA released an SLO interactive template on the members only website, which I've been encouraging people to utilize and to share with their evaluators, because it really does walk people through the process. It has a lot of information for them, and it has a way to make your own template to bring and share with your evaluators so they can have that conversation that we've been working on so much with with the student growth and also the Danielson part of that. So that's exciting. And I will be co-hosting an IEA training for the region in Naperville on SLOs and the SLO process on November 9th, so that's good too. The other couple of things are more on a local level. Calendar and climate survey, we recently gave a survey to our members. The calendar feedback was overwhelmingly pretty positive, so people really appreciated the calendar. They said very nice things, particularly about the SIP days and about the staggered start, especially the elementary teachers. The high school teachers sometimes were like, we want to start later too, and later, because, but there's the ending at the break issue that goes along with that. But people were, most people gave it a 4 or a 5 out of 5 for the calendar, so it was very positive. The things that were suggestions, the themes that came out of that were really people thought the start and end dates were too early, so they would prefer to have it later than earlier, and then the compressed schedule makes workload difficult, so they would also prefer to end later and have more days built in. So I know Brad and I are going to talk about his proposals for next year, and we're pretty excited about that. The climate stuff, the themes were really mostly around workload and the overwhelming amount of it, and a lot of the themes that came out with that were things like the curriculum rollouts in both ELA and math at the same time, and the same time having report cards change, and at the same time having win time added to the schedule, which takes a long time to plan for. So there's a lot of stuff going on, which I'm sure you're well aware of. So we talked about it at SMT, and we are planning, I'm going to talk to individual, CNI about the CNI themes, and student services about the student services team, and we're going to be working on problem solving, ways to reduce the kind of overwhelmingness of the work right now, and also possibly slowing down some of the initiatives that are all coming at once. So that's it. That's my report. I hope I kept that under 3 minutes. But
I got a couple questions
I did not
before
time
we walk
myself up.
off.
Sure. I'm here, so yeah.
The in-service day, which you seem pretty excited about because people got to work at the level they were at, was that who initiated that idea?
We did in Joint Appraisal Committee, and actually in Sherpa Group, we do, which is the subcommittee that does the student growth part.
So that was a team effort?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, it's well done. I know that that's appreciated by a lot of people. Second question, in terms of the workload, rollouts, all this stuff, and yes, you've given us an overview, we're going to work with people. Do you have anything you can throw at us that you could say right now, we think we ought to be working this direction?
Yes.
I've got a minute.
Yeah, I think that we have to really look at the sheer number of new things that people have to do, and some of those things involve writing curriculum, and we've never written curriculum before, and not having textbooks and other materials that we in the past have had. So I think we really need to look at what are priorities, what are maybe the 2 or 3 big priorities that we should be focusing on, and then slowing down the stuff that's
Are we having
priorities.
timeline issues?
I believe so, yeah. Well, I mean, it's just really the things that people have been expected to do take literally like probably 3 or 4 times the amount of time that it used to do in the past. So people who have, I don't know, families and lives and things don't get to do that anymore.
Are we racing someone to the moon on this?
What's that?
Are we racing someone to the moon on this?
I don't know.
What I'm asking is, are we in a headlong race to the moon before the Russians get there so we can do it first?
Right, and I think the pressure is felt because, okay, the state standards are changed, right? And we have to catch up and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But to do it well, I feel like we do a better service to slow it down a bit and not try to do it quickly, but do it well.
All right, noted, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know, big questions, right? Yeah.
That's what they don't pay me for.
Yep, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Abby.
Okay, so I have some pretty good news. So the girls cross country team won conference this past weekend for the 2nd year in a row. So that's really exciting. And the big bulldog head that you guys see at the football games showed up at our meet.
Nice.
So we were so stoked with that. We were so happy. And of course, Geneva was like taking pictures with it, but we like shooed him away.
Jealous.
Yeah, they were very jealous. The football team won conference against Geneva, which is really exciting. Orchestra has a concert tomorrow night at the back at 7 p.m. I know they're excited about that. The boys soccer regionals actually are tonight, I think at Wabanzi Valley High School. And then shout out to Maddie McCoy, she's a sophomore and she participated in the state golf tournament last weekend. Marchie Band took 3rd place at ISU state competition, and that was their best placement in history. So that was really exciting for them. And then the ultimate frisbee team that just started up at Batavia defeated 7 different teams to win their bracket at Rockford this past weekend. So I know they were really excited about that too. And then the high school is doing this lunch competition, which is between A, B, and C lunch. And whatever lunch picks up after themselves or is the cleanest wins ice cream. So I think that's happening at the end of October is when we're going to figure out who wins. But apparently my lunch is the cleanest. So that's successful. You know, I see a lot of people cleaning up after themselves more once they heard ice cream's involved. So I think that's a good thing.
It's good to have the right reason.
Yes. And that's it.
Okay.
Thanks, Annie.
Thanks, Annie.
Sounds like good stuff going on. Next, we will move on to the consent agenda, which is an opportunity for us to put all of our normal business and personnel items into one vote. And Mr. Pierce, would you please read the consent agenda?
Absolutely. 5.1 through 5.4 is the approval of our regular and closed session meeting minutes from September 22nd and October 6th. 5.5 is our new and improved personnel report. 5.6 is the payroll and bills. 5.7, we have a couple of large donations. The Grace McWayne PTA is offering to donate a pavilion that will cost approximately $21,000. We also have the Dillon Foundation donating $4,500 to Batavia High School to provide college scholarships for 3 dance students at $1,500 each. We have a pretty lengthy disposal of surplus property at 5.8, 5.9. We have destruction of our closed session recordings from March 25th and April 8th of 2014. And 5.10 is the authorization to begin development of the 2017 budget, fiscal year 2017. And then 5.11 is the approval of the consent agenda.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pierce. Are there any items on the consent agenda for removal or for clarification?
I have 2.
Okay.
On the staff employment, on the high school Spanish teacher, is that because of the leave?
It's a leave of absence.
Instead of having like a sub?
Right, yeah.
Okay, and then, as always, the material surplus stuff. Is this going to a certain group that this is being donated to? I couldn't tell if it's going to a...
It's being donated.
Do we know where?
We use Scarce.
Is it going to Scarce or because usually it says that in there and I didn't see it.
We're trying to put it into 3 categories for the board according to your policy. So it would be disposal, donation, or
Sale. Or recycling. There's a couple of them.
Okay. 4. So this is all going to a donation then?
Yeah, this would all be donated.
Okay, I'm good, thank you.
All right, any other questions on the consent agenda? All right, then do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'm sorry, was that you, Mr. Dryden?
Yep.
Moved by Dryden, second by Blakely. Katie, would you please call the roll?
Blakely? Yes.
Dryden?
Aye.
Gaspar?
Yes.
Block?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, next we'll move on to our report section of the agenda tonight, Dr. Kitchen.
All right, so the report section tonight has 5 different reports in it. The first is the FOIA request. Anytime we get a FOIA request, the board's duty is to make sure that we are responding to those. So you can see we got 1, we responded to it. The next 3 are actually Tony and Lacey put those in there. So first, we have an intergovernmental agreement with the Park District that he put in there for you to read. If you have any questions, you're not voting on it because we wanted you to have a first reading opportunity to ask questions. So you can ask him questions about that, the financial report, or the treasurer's report. And then we'll go to the last one, which is Brad. So let's just take a pause here and see if you have any questions for Mr. Lacey.
So is this IGA with the Batavia Park District like an addendum to the current standing IGA that we have with them, or is this a separate document? It is a separate document, but it essentially affects the IGA in the sense that runs parallel with it then. Yeah, they pay us for the use of our facilities, and this would reduce the cost to them for 1 year.
Okay. What type of communication are we going to have between making sure that the field's ready for play or something like that? I mean, who's going to be in charge of that?
Well, they've already been using for the whole season, and so it's already been in play. It's just a matter of...
But I mean, for the whole season, is there a specific person in charge?
They work, well, with the coaches that use the fields, they work with buildings and grounds, and they also work with Eric Lockyer from the Park District.
So as a general rule, I mean, are we satisfied with this agreement? Do we meet the terms that we wanted to meet? Are they, I mean, I've understood that the relationship may in the past have had issues with the handshake deals that were done with previous administrations and then us trying to fix it. Are we satisfied with the agreement? Are both sides satisfied or?
Yeah, we've obviously taken our time on this because we've used the fields for the whole season since August, since those seasons have started. It's taken us some time to work with the attorneys and come to terms, and it suffices. And it's temporary. It's for basically this season and the spring season until the fields come mature enough and ready to be used at HC Storm School.
And did we pay them for the past season that we used it also, or?
Well, no. So they let us just start using their fields with kind of an understanding that we would come to terms.
Okay.
But we have not paid them yet.
Okay.
So this is more or less a formality. With the board's blessing, of course.
But I assume that the maintenance and whatnot kind of coincides with what it would cost us if we were maintaining it ourselves in our own fields.
Yeah, it would be cheaper for us to do it ourselves.
Well, I would assume it would be cheaper, and not a huge markup that is considered.
They're not marking it up as far as I can tell, but there are real costs involved. There's personnel that they have to do things to maintain the fields for us and moving goals, those sorts of things, to reconfigure the fields so that we can use them because other organizations use them when we're not, those sorts of things.
Are we going to be utilizing Moose Heart again?
Not for soccer. We might use Moose Heart on an as-needed basis. We haven't ruled that out, but right now we have no real pressing need, as I understand it, to use Moose Heart.
It actually is likely that
in the spring.
Oh, not in the spring. Just for this fall, it's likely that football will use Moose Heart for practice, but that would be the only reason.
But for the spring, would we be, because these soccer fields won't be ready in the spring.
This IGA, as I understand it, covers both the fall and the spring term, so we'll be using Park District property for both seasons.
So I guess we're not going to have to pay Moose Heart also. Because we used Moose Heart last year, and that was a cost. So without using Moose Heart, this is the only
We've used Moose Heart for different reasons in the past, and it's not for soccer.
That's my understanding as well. Moose Heart's been for football that I understand.
We used them last year for soccer.
There's something that I didn't notice happen. Sometimes with the lighting, usually it's more
I just
lighting
wanted to
not
make
with grass.
Yeah.
So when the season is too early or too late and there's just not enough light, there are times where we've had to go to Moose Heart for that reason.
And then transportation costs definitely. Right, and I was just wanting to, if this was a cost, is that going to eliminate another cost? That was my only thought, and it sounds like it's all fine. Just a question. That's it.
Any other questions on any of these reports?
I have a question on the expenditure summary regarding the supplies. It seems like we've utilized very small amount of the supply budget so far this year. Do you see, what else would fall under supply budget that we still have the 80,000, 71183 remaining? Does that cover like salt and stuff like that we may be using for the winter, or is that just mainly like operations and maintenance type supplies?
Well, it depends, I'm not sure to what line exactly you're referring, but
Actually, I'm sorry, you know what, I might have misspoken here. It was under transportation fund. So is that supplies relating to the transportation that we provide to our students? Like for shuttling and stuff like that?
It would be gasoline for the shuttles, it'd be other supplies related to transportation, so mostly fuel, but any other supplies related to transportation.
Okay.
They're not necessarily spent in even numbers. And the billing for transportation is generally many months behind.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Anything else?
Nope.
So the other report is tied to the strategic plan, so I'm going to turn it over to Brad for that.
Sure. So in April, the board adopted a revised or renewed strategic plan, which really helps the employees of the district know the bigger picture of where we're going and gives us some direction on how to get there as well. So this is an update to the board to let you know that we continue to use the strategic plan that was adopted in April and to really make this a living document. So you can see here in this report something we're calling vision in action, because oftentimes vision statements get shelved or put on a wall in a conference room, but there's no real way to live out that or to know if we're actually meeting the mandates of that vision. So we've gathered a lot of feedback from our staff from all different job categories within the district about the vision statement. And then we had a small group of teachers that Amy appointed to a writing group, and that writing group used all of that feedback to start to craft this vision in action. So this is a way for us to report to you, the board, about our progress, but more importantly, we see this as a way to continue the conversation about how we as a district can continuously improve and get better and make progress towards the vision that we've all adopted and agreed to. So this is just a tool. It's not a scorecard. We're not aiming for certain levels of increases, but a way for us as an organization to see, kind of assess where we're at now, and then also plan for future improvements. And one of the things, Amy talked about climate and culture. One of the things that we know improves climate and culture is people knowing where we're headed, so that they don't feel that they're victims to any changes that go on, that they see the larger picture. So this is a document created with the help of our staff to help assess where we're at now and plan for future changes.
Okay, 9 questions. How are we communicating this with the staff? I read this is big, beautiful stuff. I mean, this is laudable stuff. And, you can see the benefit in the learning environment with this. And it's also very ambitious. So, one question I have, if this is the benchmark, this is where we go. This is the vision. This is where we're moving. Can we make a commitment to constantly reiterating this thing, this couple of pages? This is where we're at. This is where we're going. This is where we're moving. Learn it, love it, know it, let's go.
I think that's a great point, and really that clarity, that organizational clarity is huge, and then communicating that over and over again is a part of what we do as leaders. You as board, as leaders, is communicating this, because you're right, these things are not easy to do.
No.
There are very ambitious targets set here, but to achieve our vision, these are kind of the steps. The other thing that we see as a value in this part is to really give some clarity about this would be hard for a non-educator to take a look at as a community member and say, oh, I understand personalized learning or competency-based education. This is really more of an internal document that codifies our vocabulary so that when we're talking as the professionals, this is the language we're going to start to use around, where we're headed and what the big ideas are here in education. So this isn't necessarily a document for the general public, but it really is an organizational clarity document that we will use repeatedly. Even this morning at our admin council meeting, we talked about this document and said, how do you weave this into our conversations, whether it's through appraisal or staff meetings, because we have to start using this language in order to get people focused on this. So again, it's very easy, I think, as a classroom teacher, and I experienced this myself, that was my world. And to see the larger picture so that you don't feel like every change is coming out of left field is really important.
Right, exactly.
And I think that this document can help us get back to that bigger picture.
Right.
So you're right about communicating.
Yeah, and like if it were, forgive the metaphor, that if it were our version of the Nicene Creed and it were constantly repeated and constantly understood, if it were our catechism, so to speak, if it were constantly communicated at the team level, the grade level, the division level, if we were interpreting the Danielson model on this is what that means. I think we're going to go to a really great place. And that's just going to take, how hard it is often to communicate ideas from here to here and get through some thick skulls, right? But it's a great document. It's very ambitious. I really admire it. Yeah, it just needs to be communicated constantly, right?
Yep.
Right?
Well, I think one of the things I liked here, kind of relating to John's point is, you're going to be doing a self-assessment to be completed in the coming months as well. So kind of reiterating that living document premise of it, which is what I like to see in here, because I agree. The grandness of the whole vision is a great roadmap, but there are a lot of pit stops and detours that might have to be made along the way, but to kind of weave that into here as well, and having the collaboration and such, having strategic teacher input in crafting this document also kind of lays over the vision and action piece of it to how we can really get this all laid out. So that's kind of what I really enjoyed seeing in this, as more of a fuller collaboration versus it coming on from on high, and coming down. It's really a level type playing field. I'd just be interested to see how this morphs, because I'm sure that this isn't set in stone. This is going to be a fluid type.
No, I think that's, you're right. We're going to have to revisit this at time and time again as we learn more about where we're at. We may not even, in many of these cases, be at the beginning stage. That might be the goal, is to get to the beginning.
Right. This is career work. This is career work. Honestly, I read this and I went, that's a 20-year vision. That's a 20-year vision.
But I think we can make progress in the 3 to 5 years that we have planned for this.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple of things that are important that maybe not everyone would even be aware of, but the fact that we have so many key players that are working to make sure that these pieces go out to all our committees where work is being done. So FAC owns a piece of this, CAC owns a piece of this. We used this as a framework when we talked about our goals for Dr. Hitchens and what our expectations for her were for this year. So I think that as a board, it's important that we are also very familiar with this, and that's our expectation, and that we're making it possible that we're aligning our expectations with this so that can then form the work that we're doing. And I think we're doing that to a certain extent already, and we just need to not forget. One thing I am wondering, though, Brad, that I don't think we've ever specifically talked about, how often do you envision us coming back to this and then evaluating where are we?
That would be, something for board discussion about how often they would want to see this. I don't see this as being, one group doing the self-assessment, but probably taking it, let me back up a little bit. One of the challenges is that if you're a principal, you're going to see this document through the lens of your school. And really, this is not meant to measure your school or to assess your school, but to assess us as a district. Because schools might be in some different places in some of these categories, but it's about moving everybody forward in some of these areas. So taking a dipstick from the different building levels or different group levels, the association, ag council, those types of groups, and then kind of pooling all that information to kind of say, this is where we're at as a district, and then reporting back to the board about this is kind of where we're seeing ourselves now, and some of the key things. Amy talked about that focus on a couple of key pieces. This can help us give some of that focus on those key pieces as well.
And I would have an expectation that you are going to be talking about it far more often than you would necessarily be bringing back to the board. We want the bigger picture overview, and you'll be talking about this all the time over the next.
In terms of this document, my suggestion would be annually that we review this, but then there are lots of people who will be doing a more frequent updating and planning around this document.
Any other questions or comments? Good work.
I would almost suggest actually, instead of having an annual type review of this, maybe putting it at kind of a beginning of the school year and end of the school year, so then we can see like notable growth and what needs to be addressed. And I know it doesn't fall in like a six month type thing, but we can also kind of evaluate what has worked and what we can almost see how we're getting closer to our destination or how this is developing. I mean, not to make more work.
Here's the thing with that, though, and if you forgive me, Madam President. I think there are some pieces of this that one could build a rubric, so to speak, and go, I can measure this thing. And there are going to be many other parts of this that are going to are philosophical in nature, are less difficult to measure, or I should say more difficult to measure. And looking for annual benchmarks on some of this may be a mistake. And one thing that I would hate to do is try to start looking for benchmarks and timelines and specific things. I think on some of that we can do. But I'm a little nervous about somebody coming back and reporting these 4 or 5 things we've advanced on and these 7, 8 things we haven't so much, because that makes it quantitative as opposed to qualitative. Right. These are very laudable goals. Maybe I didn't make my point well enough, but as an instructor for many years in the classroom, I look at these and go, this is really good stuff. And to make this happen in every classroom across the district this is a career work. This is a big thing. And we have to, as we go through this, give our instructors and give our students and give our families times to become accustomed to what is really a very new model of learning. I mean, what is being proposed here is not how we learned. This is student-driven learning. This is about student inquiry. This is about instructors reconfiguring what they know and how they present to lead inquiry versus present information. Are you following me? This is big stuff. And we have to nurture this and encourage it and give it time and support it and let it grow. Let it grow.
Often what we see happen with these types of, rubric is probably not the right word, but it's a continuum, is that the more staff look at this, like the initial rating, you'll often see a dip in the rating because people will start to know what this really means and what this really looks like in a classroom, and then you'll see ratings dip before they rebound again. Because the more we learn, the more we are critical about ourselves, and that continuous improvement mindset really dictates that you're always looking to get better. Sometimes you're like, oh, now I finally understand that one piece, and it really is a big thing. That takes, time to implement.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not looking to lend a critical eye to it in review. I feel, the value in this isn't something that we should just kind of get presented once and then shelve it for the next year. With the climate of how, boards change every 2 years and such, it's something, I'm trying to hold it in a higher level of value than just having it being like some sort of, matrices rubric that, oh, well, this is a red area and this is a brown area and this is a, green area. I don't want it to be a monitoring type device, maybe more of an informative piece of, with this being a fluid document, knowing, you know what, we tried down this path and found that that's not really being as generally as accepted, so, we kind of morphed into this way a little bit more, and seeing how this is going to develop and such, instead of doing a one-year check-in.
Right.
So an assessment and then like an update.
Yeah, just kind of what works, what doesn't work, as we go through it. Because this is, we're off the map here.
Are you imagining that, Jason, to be almost more conversational, not benchmarking, but like...
Yeah, I don't want to benchmark on this at all.
Right, so you're talking about like teacher, administrator conversations, and they're sort of bringing back and saying, this is where we feel like we're at, this is where we feel like we need to put some focus.
Well,
This
sure.
is
And
what
that's-
works.
Yeah, it's part of the collaborative process also. I mean, we are part of this. We're not as an active participant in it, but I do want to hear what's working, what needs work. I don't want to have just all fluff thrown at us.
Well, and there is a reality that if we're really living this plan, it can change the way we're allocating resources, it can change the decisions we're making. And so maybe more to Jason's point is just, if it really is that important, we should be talking about it in some way or another, somewhat regularly at the board level too, so that we can have a mindset of, do we need to change our focus? Do we need to support things differently? Do we need to allow the freedom to do something else? Do we need to change policy to support what we're doing? And so, we'll leave that, I'm assuming, to administration to bring that back, but I guess we're just all saying we have an eagerness to continue the conversation and hear the work that we're doing within this framework.
And even using the language, you talked about the teachers using it, but today we saw a great example during Celebrating Successes of a principal and a teacher that talked about something, and you can find it right here on this document, what they were talking about under personalized learning to meet the needs of all students and encouraging students to take ownership of their success. So you can that's a great example of us bringing this document to life and talking about how that's a great step. Are we there as an organization? Well, they are there as a building. And then we can ask ourselves, is this, system-wide, and is it exactly where we want to be? Because that's developing, but you heard they talked about the challenges with communicating with parents. They're trying to overcome those obstacles. So next time we talk about it, and we can revisit it in a more authentic way. We don't have to look at the whole vision in action, but little pieces at a time, like what we saw today.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this whole conversation and why we're asking questions and what we're looking for in the end. And my understanding is obviously this is something that needs to be used from the board level all the way down to the teacher level in every classroom, and probably is the lens that we should look through when making any decision as a board. And so as a board, when we act, we should keep this in mind whenever we're making any of our decisions. So as how that relates to the administration and the feedback that they give us, obviously we need feedback from them for how it's working at every level below ours, while also making sure that we maintain that. And with that in mind, kind of going along with what Jason was saying, is if we do it twice a year, perhaps at the beginning of the year, we say, these are the things that we're focused in on based on issues that are, opportunities that arose in the past, feedback that we've received, and then maybe at the end of the year we can say, we've had growth based on those focused items here. At the end of the year, kind of an assessment of how we did with the areas that we were focused in on. That kind of keeps the board informed. But still, as we go through, we're going to be analyzing everything that we do based on these criteria, ideally, every month. So we don't necessarily need constant feedback because hopefully we'll be living it. Same thing goes at the other end of things. Hopefully the teachers, when making their decisions, are going, all right, how does this fit into our grand scheme of things?
This is the grand scheme of things.
Well, exactly. So, as far as what we need from the administration in order to do our job effectively is kind of a overall idea of where they're at and what they're focused on currently and how they've actually done, several months after that in that focus. And beyond that, it would seem as a board, what we need to focus in on is making sure that our decisions meet the criteria.
Correct. That is really the most important thing.
Yeah, we're leading by example.
That we're looking at everything through that lens. And then, I hear what you're saying, Chris, and I guess my only comment would be, I don't want to get too prescriptive in what they're bringing us because, again, it's fluid, it's a living document. So, again, everything should just come back and reflect through this lens what we're doing.
And I think the presentation that we received, celebrating successes, is a great example of that, because if we give them too specific, they won't do the innovative stuff that we want them to do.
Understand just one thing. This is successful when the collaboration between students and teachers works.
Oh, I think that's all over the
If that works, the rest of it works. And here's where it gets interesting. The students have to take the lead. So understand that we're riding a completely different horse.
And I think
this is going to be exciting and interesting.
As they get older, they take the lead, but obviously we need to guide them and the parents at the lower levels.
Yes, all the way up. So when I say this is big stuff, and it's good stuff, it's big, it's a great vision, and it's laudable, and we should work there. We can't expect the tulips to grow in a year. This is going to be a thing. Right. Okay? So, cool. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, John, for good comments. All right, any other final comments on that? One item under action tonight, under our policy committee report.
The only two things on the policy report are the two policies that you've seen before, the uniform grievance, no changes from last month. In the LRC policy, there were some grammatical changes that you asked to be made, and Brad did make those, so you'll see the revised version there. So we're asking both of them be adopted.
Any last questions or comments about either of those two policies?
Yes. I have heard my colleagues on the board on policy 2.260. I'm aware of the fact that we have a significant disagreement about the level of due process that should be guaranteed to students and teachers and administrators and others in the system. I do believe, that the board attorney is incorrect. I do also believe that this is not the place that I will win on this issue. I would like to encourage the professional unions very strongly to bring language for due process in the next contract negotiations. I believe that they'll get the board support they need. I have no suggestion on how to offer the proper protections for students at this point. I do know this, and I will just say to you, my colleagues, I know that all civil society throughout history is built on the right of the defendant. And I think that we are coming up short. And that's what I have to say.
Thanks, John. Appreciate your comments. Hey, any other comments on these? Then I would entertain a motion that we adopt policy 2260, uniform grievance, and policy 6230, library resource centers. Moved by Locke, second by Stoops. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Lakewood. Yes.
Dryden.
Nay.
Casbar.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Lowe.
Yes.
Stoops.
Yes.
Drummond.
Yes. All right, thank you. Let's move on to administration comments.
Again, at your seats, you have some documents, one of them being I believe that's the communication letters from our auditor, and then also you have a feedback sheet in the spirit of always learning, always growing. We want to get better at our meetings. If you have any feedback, Kathy and I will type that up and share it with the president to make these meetings even more efficient and helpful for you guys.
All right, and board comments. Mr. Gasper, we'll start with you.
I just wanted to thank everyone again for all the information. I just wanted to say, since I think with the new board now, great conversations have been opening up a lot of eyes and good conversation on different viewpoints. And as I've always said, it's always, you can always agree to disagree as long as it's in a civil manner. And I think we're still operating in that way, and I hope it continues that way because I think we all can learn from that. So I appreciate that, and I want to just thank all my board members. Thank you.
I have no comments at this time, thank you.
Yeah, just real quick. In being a board liaison for City Council, I've been attending Committee of the Whole meetings as well as the full board meetings, City Council meetings. There really hasn't been much to remark upon relating to school business other than the TIF district being created where our maintenance facility now resides, and they're looking to do upgrades and whatnot in the area there. It does encompass a lot of residential area as well, which I believe Tony put out a memo to us where he voted no for that, for freezing the tax assessed properties through there, which I would tend to agree with as well, but it does seem to be moving forward and passing, but we have our objections duly noted. Also, just wanted to bring up a piece or a note that came up recently. There was the Supreme Court decision on Crystal Lake School District not being able to work outside the boundaries of city code, I guess, so that has kind of set a precedence for how we may want to think about moving forward on certain projects and such, since it's now up to the Supreme Court rulings that they're going to be remarking back to that. So it's something that we should all be keeping in mind, that we, even though we have the ROE, it's something that we still have to collaborate with the city as well for permitting and such. And yeah, not much else other than go Bulldogs.
Thanks, Jason. And Lakeland. I don't have anything. Chris?
First, I want to say congratulations to the Rotolo cross-country team for winning first in state for both the girls and the boys. Also, I had my first BPS Capital Project Committee meeting this past week, and it was kind of an organizational meeting with Pat Brown and Tony and a bunch of other people. I think it's going to be very informative, and I'm very much looking forward to the future meetings on that. I had the opportunity to be a judge at the Batavia Mothers Club Foundation Brownie baking contest, and that was a very enjoyable experience. If I get more of those, if anybody wants to send an invitation my way, I am more than willing to judge any cooking contest. And then I also went to the elected officials breakfast at Aurora University and got to see the STEM school, which I was extremely impressed with. As an architect, I was completely geeking out on their building, so it was very enjoyable. That's it.
And Susan does speak, but she's going to try.
Did you go to the Harlem Ambassadors?
Harlem Ambassadors.
Did you go?
Yeah.
I win.
I know. I have no voice left. So I just wanted to say, I went to the Harlem Ambassadors and I wanted to thank Chris and Jason and everyone else that did a wonderful job. And I have a lot of other things. John was supposed to say a lot tonight. But thank you guys. You did a wonderful job. It was a wonderful night. So thank you. Go Bulldogs.
Thanks, sir. She'll hit us next one.
Yeah, sure.
And I have nothing tonight, so if there's no closed session, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gaspar, second by Stoops. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
All right.